Hey everybody, it's Doug Klutz, and today I want to talk about our current job market. I've received a ton of questions over the past couple of months from students, current students, recent graduates, some graduates who have been out on the job market for some time, asking for my advice and my opinions about where I see our current job market today and some strategies that I would recommend employing ultimately to gain those gainful employment opportunities. So I just want to walk through a few pieces of advice that I think would be helpful in terms of your own job search. And if we rewind the clock a little bit back to 2008, 2009, I was just finishing my schooling during what is now called the Great Recession, and that was also a very tight job market. So I'm going to talk about some things that I employed during that time period and what I ultimately found to create some success during those tough times. And I think those pieces of recommendation can be carried over into today's job market and employed as well, and you'll find them to be helpful. So the first thing in terms of navigating a tight job market is that you don't want to be too confined in your job search. You want to be as flexible as possible. You don't want to be too limited in terms of the types of jobs that you're applying to in your field. The ultimate goal to start off in any tight job market should be to get your foot in the door. Once you get your foot into the door of a company or an agency, it is much easier to move up internally within that organization. And also, you're building that real world experience. So when you encounter those job ads that say, hey, we want a minimum of 1 to 2 years of full time work experience, you're gaining that experience right off the bat because you employed that foot in the door approach where you said, okay, this might not be exactly my dream job, but it's in my field and it's allowing me to gain experience. And this is what I need in a difficult job market. It will make your life on the other side of that tight job market a lot easier to have that upward mobility. Also, you don't want to be too geographically confined. I talk to a lot of students who are almost dead set on only working in one specific city. You want to be as geographically flexible as possible. You want to be open to basically, if possible, working anywhere across the country. If you confine yourself to one specific area, it's going to be extremely limited, especially in a tight job market, in terms of the amount of jobs that you can find in your field. Not only should you be open to just about anywhere geographically possible across the country during a tight job market, but you should also think about where might be some locations that other applicants aren't necessarily thinking about or might not find to be as desirable. Because your more desirable locations, if you're finding it to be really desirable, it's likely that a lot of other people are finding it to be desirable, and you're going to have a whole lot more competition in those geographical locations. If you can think outside the box a little bit about some geographical areas that might not be labeled as desirable or not that many people are applying to those geographical areas, that would make your life of getting that foot in the door a lot easier to start. So don't limit yourself to too many ultra specific types of jobs, and don't limit yourself too much geographically. Be as flexible as possible. I'll give you an example. I talk to a lot of students that want to work for the FBI because ultimately I do a lot of advising in the criminal justice related field and students trying to secure jobs in our criminal justice system in some capacity. And I meet with students all the time whose ultimate dream job is working for the FBI. But a lot of times they'll take it one step further and say, well, I want to work for the FBI in this specific city. Just getting your foot into the door of the FBI is very challenging because there's so much competition. The FBI averages just in normal employment times, normal job market, about 70,000 applications a year on average. That's a lot of competition. But then if you take it one step further and you say, well, I want to work in this one specific city for the FBI, that is ultra limiting because the chances of that happening and working with the FBI are not very high at all. I always tell students, take a step back. You can have that ultimate dream job of working for the FBI. That's totally fine to have that ultimate end goal. but it might require a couple of steps in between before you get to that ultimate dream job. So, for example, with the FBI, it might require you to gain some local or state law enforcement experience first. Or it might require you to work with another federal law enforcement agency first. You get your foot in the door of the federal system, and then it becomes a lot easier to do what they call a lateral transfer. So it might require those couple of steps in between, but that is a more realistic approach. Same thing that you can extrapolate into today's job market. Just think about that. The chances of landing your ultimate dream job straight out of school, not great in a tight job market, not even great in a good job market, because again, it might take a couple or a few steps in between to get to that ultimate dream job. Another piece of advice I have, in your field, look to see where the majority of job ads are. What is hiring in the most prevalent fashion in your field? What specific types of jobs that you would ultimately be deemed qualified for? Or you might have to go back and take a couple of training courses. You might have to teach yourself how to do a few things to be marketable for those specific positions. Don't try to find jobs don't rely on finding jobs in your specific field that are limited even in good hiring times. In a tight job market, those few positions are even going to be more limited. So, for example, in the criminal justice job market, cybersecurity is something I've been recommending for the past few years. There are a ton of good gainful employment opportunities still to this day, even in this tight job market. I've definitely seen overall job ads that I've been sent by employers and that I've found on my own. There are a lot fewer. But in the cybersecurity field, for example, that hiring is still going on in a strong way. There are a lot of cybersecurity jobs that I'm seeing on a daily basis open in both the public and the private sector. So if I'm open to a lot of possibilities in the criminal justice job market right now, or in any job market for that matter, I would be saying that cybersecurity is presenting me with a great opportunity. What can I do if I'm open, I'm flexible in my career planning? What can I do to ultimately gain those necessary experiences and qualifications to be deemed to be best qualified for these cybersecurity type jobs? So the first thing I'm going to do once I see that there's a strong hiring trend in the cybersecurity field, I'm going to go to those cybersecurity job ads on a major job website like Indeed, like LinkedIn, Glassdoor, Monster, usajobs.gov. I'm going to type in the search browser something along the lines of a cybersecurity analyst, and I'm going to pull up all those job descriptions, and I'm going to start looking through the duties and the qualification sections, the necessary or desired skill sections that they have on those job ads, and I'm going to start writing down what I see in common. And then I'm going to say, if I don't possess them already, how am I going to, in the quickest fashion possible, get these skills on my resume and on my cover letter? And once you have your keywords, and I've filmed a YouTube video on my YouTube channel about the importance of keywords and phrases in your resume and cover letter. Once I'm able to have those necessary qualifications from those job ads and put that I am proficient or I'm qualified in these specific skill sets, then I'm going to be a whole lot more marketable on the job front. So in the case of cybersecurity, there are a lot of great free online training resources. Code Academy, for example, I've talked about that in past videos on my YouTube channel. Different computer programmers have YouTube channels where they walk you through tutorials. And once I have those skill sets, those desired skill sets, I'm going to be a lot more marketable on the employment front. And I'm going towards where the jobs are. I'm not trying to apply to such an ultra specific field that just doesn't really have any job opportunities at all. If you do that, if you're so limited that you're just applying to those types of jobs, it's going to be a very frustrating experience likely in a tight job market. So go to where the jobs are in your field. Another thing that I want to say about navigating a tight job market is don't get discouraged. Stay as positive as possible. view applying to jobs as a job itself. Applying to jobs is basically a full-time job. The mistake I see a lot of students who have recently graduated or getting ready to graduate or have been on the job market for some time, the mistake that I commonly see them make is they get too attached to a very limited number of job advertisements. They find their dream job ad as they're applying to jobs, they fall in love with it, and if they get a rejection from it, then they become very disheartened and discouraged. You have to view it as a numbers game. It would be great if you apply to just a handful of jobs straight out of school, you get one of those jobs, and you're good to go. In a tight job market, though, that's not always possible. So you have to view it as a numbers game. Apply to anything and everything that you can find related to your field. You don't want to just spam out your resume. You do want to take the time to individually craft it to some extent again and try to incorporate those keywords and phrases in your resume and cover letter. But you apply to a job ad and then you move along. It's just a number. And then you go to the next opportunity that you find. You want to be looking every single day for those new opportunities out there. You want to be going through all those websites that I mentioned a little bit earlier, like Indeed and usajobs.gov, Glassdoor. Look through those on a daily basis because you never know when the right opportunity is going to present itself. But it only takes that one opportunity to snowball into something more for you. There are going to probably be a lot of rejections along the way. Don't take it personally. Don't get mad. Don't get angry. Again, just apply and move on to the next one and know that it's just going to take that one callback, that one interview that goes well and that one job offer to get your career off to the races. So think about those tips. I hope they're helpful. And again, this is gleaning from some past experience that I've had in a tight job market and just some general strategies that I would recommend that I think can help you avoid a lot of frustration and a lot of anxiety and stress if properly employed. So I hope this helps. Take care. Bye.